All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming to the special meeting of the Pawtucket School Committee on Wednesday, June 14th at 6 p.m. Clerk, may I please have you call the roll to bring the meeting to order?
Ms. Bonello.
Here.
Ms. Carney.
Here.
Mr. Charbonneau.
Here.
Ms. Doobie.
Here.
Ms. Fernandez.
Here.
Ms. Grant. Mr. Shalala.
Here, may I ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I completely misdid it. American Pledge of Allegiance. All right, next item for business is going to be public participation. First on, Joshua Locke. Due to the fact there's only 2 people that are signed up for public participation, Josh, could you please, 5 to 6 minutes? Okay, thank you.
Hello, members of the Pawtucket School Committee, Acting Superintendent Mercer, Assistant Superintendent Ramsey. My name is Joshua Locke, and I'm here to speak with you regarding the upcoming appointment of the new superintendent of the Pawtucket School Department. I speak not only as a proud teacher and member of the Pawtucket Teachers Alliance, but as a lifelong resident and taxpayer of the city of Pawtucket, and as a proud graduate of the Pawtucket Public Schools. I attended Nathaniel Green Elementary, Goff Middle School, and Tolman High School, having graduated in 2013. I have had the distinct advantage of being taught by and the honor of working with the very teachers I am now grateful to have as colleagues. The relationships I have formed both as a student and coworker encapsulate everything I admire about this district. I wouldn't be the educator I am today without the teachers I had in Pawtucket and the colleagues who support me now. As you consider a vote on this matter of utmost importance, I would encourage the committee to think about what type of legacy you want to be remembered for. How strong, how functional, how effective will the district be 2 or 3 or even many years from now? How prepared for employment in life will the Pawtucket graduates of those years be? School committee members have the power to change the trajectory of our district and set the right tone by appointing a superintendent, Dr. Alexandra Montez McNeil, who brings the personal background, knowledge, managerial experience, and commitment required to transformationally navigate our district through the extremely difficult waters we find ourselves in. A significant percentage of our students are first generation or children of first generation immigrants. Dr. McNeil is a first generation American, the daughter of 2 immigrant parents. A significant number of our students and families contend with the multiple academic challenges of being English language learners. Dr. McNeil is also multilingual, and her own personal experience will positively influence her to make informed decisions as superintendent. In her interview, Dr. McNeil spoke about the importance and urgency of addressing our multilingual students, evidenced by many years of available state and district data. She demonstrated a deep understanding of the challenges our students and families face, the inequities that exist, and a desire to create equitable practices. Dr. McNeil has proven herself to be a highly effective superintendent within a collective bargaining environment. As an effective leader must understand how to communicate clearly and negotiate in good faith with the workforce that our school district's success relies upon. Her attitude and approach will result in agreements that are optimal compromises for both the district and its labor force. To paraphrase, she said the best negotiations don't happen when you use the power of your position to force a negotiation or lack thereof. Dr. McNeil is currently the sole negotiator for 5 collective bargaining units in her district. That type of leadership, responsibility, and successful track record cannot and should not be ignored. As I previously stated, I love this district. I grew up here, I went to school here, I teach here, I live here, I'm raising my family here. What sets Pawtucket apart from everywhere else, as far as I'm concerned, are the community ties our teachers have. The power of the lifelong connections our teachers create. We deserve a leader who also feels that way, who believes in the power of relationships with current stakeholders, and who wants to help empower current and future stakeholders. A leader who is likely to fit our community, commit to our community, and stay. In her doctoral dissertation, Dr. McNeil researched and wrote about the job of central office administrators and their role of developing strong principles, becoming effective instructional leaders, and how to best support teachers. Quote, in the present era of standard-based accountability, the principal's role has evolved from being a school building manager to an instructional leader who can significantly impact student learning outcomes. Current research highlights this shift to instructional leadership by showing principals' impact on student achievement as second only to that of teachers. Making these shifts in practice is critical to the success of establishing highly effective schools, as schools need high-quality principals who can manage both instructional and operational demands. Therefore, leadership matters at both the central office and school levels in increasing academic achievement for all students. End quote. I believe we need someone like Dr. McNeil who believes in this shift, who understands that there is a clear path from leadership at the top down to increase student achievement. As was stated by this committee, building relationships is of utmost importance for the next superintendent. Representation was important. Having someone that represents our students was important in the decision to this committee. Experience working with collective bargaining units was something this committee said was important to them. Experience as a teacher and instructional leader was important to this committee. Keeping in mind the metrics discussed by this very committee and evidenced by the unanimous decision by the subcommittee, your very own decision states that Dr. McNeil is the correct choice to lead the school department. Thank you.
Tag. Again, same 5 to 6 minutes.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. I'm speaking in favor of Dr. Alexandra Montes McNeil. My name is Tag Tanalski. I'm a teacher here at Jenks, 6th grade ESL. I'm a Pawtucket resident and a voter for more time than I'd like to admit. I've been a private and public school teacher of one kind or another since 1981. I've worked in wealthy districts, poor districts, and I've worked with virtually all ages, including refugees and other adults. I've been union, non-union, and I've also worked in the private sector and in higher education. But somehow I always migrated back to education. Why? Because the kids need help, because it matters, and because it is deadly serious. It affects lives and generations of lives. And that's why it's so important, when we can, to get it right on up the line. This vote carries a heavy responsibility. Now, the school committee has already received the recommendation of dedicated stakeholder experts that were recruited to give that advice. But ultimately, the responsibility and the decision rests with the committee. A school system has a lot of moving parts, and every part works according to the degree of quality thought and intention and effort that goes into running it. It's complicated. And of course, the whole thing runs on money. The system can't rely on goodwill or qualifications alone. We all do this for two reasons: because we care about and want to educate the kids, and because everyone needs to get paid in order to do that. To get the job done right within a budget that I think we can all agree is not sufficient for the mission, a superintendent has to manage these two necessary objectives very deftly. That superintendent must possess a combination of knowledge, experience, communication and administrative skills, and grit and perseverance, the willingness to stick it out. They must also be willing and able to push compromises that maintain the balance between meeting students' needs and assuring that the system can run effectively. They need to have the skill, confidence, and support of their staff. And this is best assured when communication between management and labor is honest and respectful. And I think Dr. Montes best fits those requirements. Our superintendent will need to make choices between what is right and what's fiscally responsible. And she will only be able to do that successfully if she's willing to act upon honest feedback and if she enjoys the approval and the support of her faculty and her staff. We need to be very creative and thoughtful in order to meet the challenges that we face every day. I believe Dr. Alexandra Montes McNeil is the right leader to make the right management choices for our students, families, and teachers within the constraints of our financial realities. Thank you very much for your time.
All right, just some housekeeping. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming again. And just like the last meeting when we had such lovely faces in the audience, we are in a library. I'm going to ask you to treat this library like you want your students to act when they're inside a library. Hold all side conversations to minimal to almost none. Silence your cell phones. We're about to take a somewhat important vote. And after the vote, I ask, please, to just respectfully agree, disagree, but just no noise from the audience, okay? So we as a school committee would very much appreciate that. With that, under new business, discussion, action item, can I get a motion for the appointment of the superintendent of schools? Ms. Doobie.
Move that we appoint Dr. Alexandra Montes McNeil pending successful contract negotiations. I was impressed with Dr. McNeil from the very beginning of the superintendent search process as a proven leader, as somebody who had a track record on her resume. And then through the interview process, I saw her as a thoughtful leader, somebody who both understood the challenges that we face in Pawtucket and also had creative solutions and also understood the value of reaching out for assistance to better understand how to get to creative solutions. She was the only candidate who moved forward unanimously through the superintendent search process, and I believe she is the appropriate, and I believe she will be an excellent next leader for Pawtucket.
Second.
All right, motion's on the table by Ms. Doobie, seconded by Committee Member Bonolo, for approval of Ms. Dr. McNeil for the next superintendent of schools. Discussion. No discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Ms. Bonolo,
Yes.
Ms. Carney,
No.
Mr. Charbonneau. No. Ms. Doobie,
Yes.
Ms. Fernandez,
No.
Ms. Grant,
No.
Mr. Shalhoub.
Yes. Motion fails for Dr. McNeil. Motion.
Motion to appoint.
Tricia Royal as the next superintendent of schools.
Second.
There is a motion on the table to appoint Ms. Royal next superintendent of schools, seconded by Ms. Carney. Motion by Ms. Fernandez, seconded by Ms. Carney. Discussion. Ms. Doobie.
Although I do think that Ms. Royal definitely presents as a strong leader, I do not believe that the substance was present in her answers to show that she understands the challenges that she's going to be facing in this district. I think that in the future she could be a strong leader of this district, but I do not think she's the right leader right now.
Sorry, Ms. Carney, go ahead.
I respectfully disagree. I believe that watching both interviews, that Ms. Royal outshone through her first interview, and I think the grace in the class that she showed walking through this very tense meeting, the last meeting, and addressed personally the teachers in the room. I don't believe that Ms. Dr. McNeil answered my questions. I asked about data. She could not name a specific point. Someone asked about facilities. She has not led any facilities work. When they asked about her experience, her trip to the administration building, she commented on how many doors there were. So I respectfully disagree that her content was anything near Ms. Royal's, and therefore my vote stands with Ms. Royal.
Thank you, Ms. Carney. Any other discussion? No discussion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Bonolo,
No.
Ms. Carney,
Yes.
Mr. Charbonneau,
Yes.
Ms. Doobie,
No.
Ms. Fernandez,
Yes.
Ms. Grant,
Yes.
Mr. Shalhoub.
No. All right, with that, Ms. Royal, that motion passes 4-3. We will reach out to both candidates at the end of tonight, so thank you. Next next discussion for the school committee tonight is the approval of the LED upgrade project Phase 2 and MOA with the Pawtucket School Department with the Rhode Island Office of Energy Resources. Melissa, I heard you're going to speak about this.
Yes, I'm sorry. John was going to be here, but he couldn't make it, so I'm going to speak on his behalf. As you know, the district had entered into an agreement for a first LED lighting project for five schools. We have an opportunity to enter into agreement, which we came before you on March 30th to get approval to issue the RFP documents. The RFPs were issued, and there were 5 vendors that submitted proposals. The proposals were from Lighting Resource for $1,117,674.40. Next Gen Electric, $557,289. Rise Engineering, $568,851. C&K Electrical, $707,785. Prism Energy Services, $678,02. This project consists of 4 of the district schools that include Varia, Slater Middle School, Pawtucket Annex, and Goff Middle School. The last project was 100% funded. We're almost complete with the project. John has the finer details. I believe they're on the last school that they're doing. But we're 100% funded by the Rhode Island Office of Energy Resources. This project is asking that it will be 100% except for any change orders. We did a thorough walkthrough with the vendors. John held that walkthrough. We questioned the lowest bidder, which the lowest bidder is Next Gen Electric, to ensure that all costs that maybe we thought were missed or forgotten, we wanted to ensure that they had everything in their scope so that we could avoid the change orders. And with that being said, we'd like to recommend to you Next Gen Electric for $557,289.
Motion by Ms. Manolo to approve, second by Ms. Doobie. Discussion. Ms. Doobie?
Mr. Klein, when we did the first round, did we have change orders?
So we did have change orders, but they were fully covered. There was one misunderstanding, which we ensured that didn't happen. Because as you know, when there are programs or activities going on in the school department, we don't allow work to be done because it interrupts the school day or the activity that's going on. So in that first one, there was a mishap. We ensured that would not happen without that second shift differential. And again, the Rhode Island Office of Energy Resource picked that up. Without that, it was within the norm. There was only a few $1,000s. I don't have the exact number. I can get that and distribute that tomorrow to everybody, and I'll break it down between what was the differential for the second shift. But again, everything, including the change orders, have been covered by the Rhode Island Office of Energy Resources. And this is a great program, in my opinion, just because I know that there's other things coming down the pike where they've already told us that they're looking at heating, air conditioning, things like that, and other opportunities that they can help school districts like Pawtucket and other schools around the state that don't have the funding to do these upgrades and provide better environments for our students that are in buildings that have been, some of them renovated, but maybe they're not all of the schools have been renovated. We know that there's still, although Pawtucket has done tons of work and continues to do that work, we know that there's still work to be done. So any opportunity that we have to get a free upgrade is wonderful. But again, the change orders will be on the table for Pawtucket. We have no idea what they'll be at, but I will share with you tomorrow the amount of change orders and break that out between the second shift differential. And we did ensure, I will say that at first they were, it was right in the scope that they would bid the second shift differential, and they assured us that their price, although they were planning, if there's any time to get the first shift, they can when there's no school in session, but they were planning first shift, but they are willing to accept it at second shift with the price that they submitted.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Bonolo. Yes. Ms. Carney.
Yes.
Mr. Charbonneau.
Yes.
Ms. Doobie.
Yes.
Ms. Fernandez. Ms. Grant.
Yes.
Mr. Shalett.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have a motion for adjournment? Motion by Deputy Chair Grant, seconded by Ms. Bonolo and Ms. Fernandez. All those in favor? Aye. Aye, opposed.